G'day guys, so I'm at work. I thought I'd give you guys a quick tour of the workshop. I did put this up on my work Instagram page saying, hey, I might do a walk around tour. People said, yeah, they want to see that, so I'm going to wake it up on the YouTube channel as well. So I'm just going to flip this camera around and we'll just have a quick walk around. So as you walk in my front door, on the left as you walk in, immediately we have our grinding area. Now there is a pedestal grinder that's about to go in the corner there, but I haven't got it right this second. But we have our vertical belt sander. That's for doing recoil pads and all that sort of stuff. So that one only gets worked on recoil pads. And if I want to do anything steel, tool bits, pins, like anything like that, I use the round one there just to make sure that I'm not cross-contaminating between wood and rubber and metal. Here's my surface grinder. So this is a 1988 model. Most of my machines, which we'll get to in a second, are all fairly old. So made in 1988, I got this off an old tool and die maker. It's had very minimal actual use. It's been sitting in a workshop for a long time. Incredibly smooth for a rack and pinion geared machine. I've refaced the mag chuck, got miscaught for it. So what I do on that is like recoil lugs, bringing down sight plates for, like, let's say I was putting a red dot on a double rifle, which is a job I just recently did. I would make that plate, I usually make it high, and then to fit the customer, surface grind the plate to bring a height down. So on that particular double, we have the red dot sight co-witnessed with the open sights, which is a pretty awesome thing, because a lot of the time when you look at doubles, the red dots are way too high and you have to get your head up off the gun. When you've got a big kicker like a 500 nitro, you really want to have your head position correct. Right, I was going to kick you. Alright, so here's the milling machine. So this is the toolbox for the milling machine, and you'll notice that, so we've got air at every single station. We'll go through those as well, but every single workstation here has air, and there's an air compressor up on the roof. So this is the newest machine I have. This is a 2002 Extron. So Extron was made for Hare & Forbes. Now they're all Hare & Forbes badged machines, but back in the day they had different brands. It's the same machine, it's a Bridgeport clone. So it would be the same as a BM40V, I believe, off the top of my head, which is what they currently sell at Hare & Forbes. They're about 17 grand new. I got this for an absolute steal, being second hand. Yep, so the toolbox that goes with it, with all the cutters, all of my shit that goes with it. That's a boring head, tapping arm, other random shit. Strap clamps, there's another strap clamp set down there. Parallels, 1, 2, 3 blocks, springs for holding parallels. All my collets for ER32. All the tools that go with the machine. Assorted cutters for fluting, etc. My indexables, there's indexables there. Carbide cutters, high-speed steel cutters, and then other random shit. Spare batteries for the Quill DRO, can easy out some chamfer tools, other assorted shit. So yeah, great machine, absolutely love it. I did for years have a Rongfu RF30, well, it was a clone of that. Yeah, and that was a really good machine. It was small, but I did a lot of good work on that machine. I sold that, bought this. So really loving that machine. I'm going to do individual videos on the machines, I think, because this is going to take 1,000 years if I go through every machine in a lot of detail in one video. So just for this walk around, we're just going to breeze over them. But yeah, if you want to see videos on each individual machine and each individual workstation in the workshop and what I do, leave it in the comments and we'll probably get to it. So this rack here has, twist drills, mill accessories that don't fit in the box, angle plates and all that sort of bullshit. So there's extra stuff that goes with that. Spare dividing head there and whatnot. Then I've got my pantograph. So my pantograph is for engraving caliber stamps, all that sort of cool stuff. I might put my gun maker name on something or whatever. So I think the last job I did was a 308. So there's the template, and then you put the barrel in this vise, and this is a engraving cutter, and it spins at 20,000 RPM, and you just engrave the caliber. So it's a lot neater than doing a caliber stamp. It is a very big machine. for what it does, but it is pretty awesome, and I really do like that machine. Hopefully the audio is not too shit for because I'm doing this on my phone. I do have an aircon in the workshop to keep this at a very nice working temperature, which is good because Queensland's fucking hot. This toolbox is for lathe tooling. I've got indicators on top and lots of bullshit. I'm really going to go through all that stuff. There's my lathe. That's a 1980 Macmillan. So very similar to what Heron Force would sell now as a 920B, something like that. Pretty much the same headstock, just that this is belt drive and those are gear heads. But this is a 48-inch bed. So very, very long. Probably, some would say it's too long for gunsmithing, but I think it's really good because I can have really long barrel setup and I still have room on the bed for the tailstock and all extra room down that end. Quick change tooling, different chucks, all that crap. I recently put a DRO on. I didn't use a DRO on my lathe for years, and it doesn't make me any more accurate, it just makes me quicker having a DRO, so that's really amped up my working. Before we go on to this side, this bench here is the quote-unquote dirty bench, and so still trying to figure out what tooling I want to have up on the pegboard there, but there's a work vise with different jaws that are up here, so soft jaws, wood jaws for wood parts, and aluminium jaws. So all the fabrication tools has got to be in there. There's a welder in there, and bench grinders and tooling and whatever else. So anything that's dirty, manufacturing parts, woodworking, anything that's dirty gets done on that bench, and the other bench is the clean bench for servicing. Right, so I've got a bin there, rack for, so down on this shelf, that's all just barrels that have been taken off guns that I've worked on. So there's a shitload of barrels down there. Stocks that have come off, so either getting ready to get worked on to go back onto guns, or they've come off guns that we've pulled apart. Random stock, so bronze, aluminium, stainless steel, stainless steel, most of it's labelled with what grade it is, so just a random shelf of that shit. Packing boxes, there's a camera thing up there, whatever else, and then up the top's gun bags. I keep a couple of loaners in the shop because sometimes people don't bring the gun bags to pick up their guns, so I'll give them a loaner, they can take the gun home and then they can bring back the bag later. Gun vise. And then here we've got 2 lockers. So in the left locker we've got like consumables, all the PPE, and then down the very bottom is just a very small stash of ammunition for test firing things, because next door, as I'm in the same building as Eureka Gun Company, next door we have a blast box so we can test fire rounds up to a certain caliber in that, so in-house testing, which is very, very handy. In the other one we have, that's all just pretty much gun parts, so random Mauser 98 parts, anything I use a lot of, there's parts in there. So yeah, that's pretty much all just that. There's some random shit stuffed up on top of it that's on current projects we kind of want to have readily at hand. Same with on top of the safe there. That safe is a trophy 55 gun safe. It doesn't really fit 55 because you've got to have the guns touching, which I don't like to do because I don't want customers' guns banging into each other and marking them up. So I try to keep a high turnover so that I can get guns in and out, so I don't have to overstack my safe. So this bench here is the clean bench. So we have another vise there, that's a lead jawed vise. So not really for holding parts hard, it's just for holding them softly so we can do assemblies, disassemblies, shit like that. There is a barrel vise here for taking barrels off actions. That's from T-Bone Shipwrighting. That's a really, really awesome tool. You can make it, but if you factor in the time it takes to make the materials, plus all the bushings that come with it and shit, that was just a no-brainer to buy that instead of forking out the time to make it, because I can do more jobs in that amount of time and make more money. So it's just a no-brainer to work that way. There's some people out there who are kind of snobby when it comes to tooling. Well, you should make all of your tooling. Yeah, I do make a lot of my tooling, but some things are just quicker and easier to buy than they are to make. You can probably see there's an AR-10 on the bench there. That's in for a service. It's actually a Wilson Combat, so it's technically a WC-10, but same. So look, all the standard Allen keys and shit we use, cleaning products, rags, you know, small hammers, trigger pull gauges. This bin here is all pretty much full. That's all snap caps. This is all headspace gauges. Down in these, we've got, I'll go through all this in other videos, but you know, metrology equipment, you know, scales and gauges and shit, all my different spare indicators, goes on and on and on. Barrel removal tools, all my old school turn screws for doing doubles and old shotguns. First stack of reamers, second stack of reamers, and it goes on. I got little bins here, so that's all my AR-10 and AR-15 tools, all my Mauser 98 tools with, you know, like, there's a fixture I've made for doing drilling and tapping, so that goes on the bottom of the action, holds it perfectly centered device, and yeah, so that's a shop-made tool. Remington 700, that's a shop-made tool for taking extractors out. Doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to work. That's a tool I've made for taking out firing pins and disassembling firing pins. You know, that's a tool that I've made for doing mainsprings on doubles, you know, and that's one that I've bought. So there's a lot of random shit. That's all for shotgun. So yeah, a lot of the tooling I do make, some things I buy. So then we swing around here. So parts bins. So if I disassemble a gun, on the label on the firearm, it gets a number, and then it coincides with, you know, firearm 1 through 6, and I keep all the parts from the gun in that bin, so I know that that goes with that gun. So I might strip it down to a barrel action, all the parts will go in the bin, the barrel action will go back in the safe at the end of the day, and then when I pull it back out, might be the next day, might be a week from now, I know where all the parts are. More random gun parts, cleaning stuff, that's all going to get rearranged at some point, just haven't really got around to it. Here we've got some more stock, so steel, stainless, aluminium, bronze, high-speed steel, and just random like air fittings and other random eccentric shit up there. And then that's my desk, so I'm doing all paperwork, so like that's a checklist I just did for an AR-15 that's came with that AR-10, about to do the checklist on the AR-10. That's where I do all my paperwork, logging guns in and out. I keep everything. So not only do I keep a register as per Queensland Police's you know, stipulations, I keep an online register myself as well, so a spreadsheet of guns in and out, what I've done to the gun. So if down the track a customer needs to ask a question, like I had one the other day going, hey, I can't remember what thread you cut on my muzzle. Is it a 5/8/24? Is it a 9/16/24? I don't know. I can look it back up in my own personal register and see what exactly I did to that gun. So that's very, very handy. Yeah, so, you know, Form 10's out, so I know which ones to post, which ones have come in. That's receipts for tax purposes. You know, I've got a shipping label printer, some manuals. I've got more manuals at home I need to bring in, but, you know, just random stuff. I think that's all, like switch lugs and Remington 700 stuff. That one there, can't remember. Yeah, that's the workbench. So that's the workshop. So I hope you got something out of that. Sorry, it's a bit of a breeze rush, so I'm trying to get this done before I actually start working. You can probably hear people working outside my room in the building, so it's going to get noisy very soon. So I'll cut it there. If you do want to see more videos about, you know, you want to see a whole video on the milling machine and what I do on the milling machine and the ins and outs, the tooling, everything, I can do that. I can do the pantograph, I can do the lathe, I can do whatever else. So yeah, I hope you got something out of that. I hope you enjoyed the little walkthrough of my workshop. I'll see you next video, and hooroo.